Good morning or afternoon, glorious time zone, wherever you are. Thank you for joining us. This is SASG Links. This is a podcast about self advocacy and whether you find yourself to be a person who experiences the world a little bit differently, or you have someone that you love who experiences the world differently. This is going to be a conversation, an ongoing and, you know, practical conversation about how you or your loved one can actually benefit from advocating for yourself. My name is Jeannie V. I am one of your hosts. I am a transgender woman. Today, I happen to have on a short bobbed auburn reddish wig, frameless glasses. I am sporting a blue t-shirt that features a mashup of Doctor Who and the Disney movie Brave Merida with her flowing, amazing curly orange hair. The background is blurred because my house is a mess. And my co host is.
Hey y'all, I am AJ Locascio, and I am the executive director of Umbrella US. I am a genderqueer woman with short, kind of spiky, poofy black hair with a gray streak in the front. I am sitting in a black and teal gaming chair with a black t-shirt on that says always proud. On my lap is Widget, a gray and white Italian Greyhound, and he is in his gray pouch. Behind me is a brown bamboo-esque, um,
Woven wicker.
thank you, woven wicker room divider
Screen.
screen. Thank you. Which is
This,
just the wall behind me.
yeah. This is y'all are going to get a raw podcast today.
Very much so.
Um, because we're talking about a subject that, first of all, is very pertinent to a lot of people. Whether you're diagnosed with some form of neurodiversity or you are undiagnosed, diagnosed, curious, or maybe you think you are just going through life without any impedance on your moving forward, there are times when some of us refuse to ask for help, or we actively try to push away help when it is offered in good faith. So that's what we're talking about today. What does it mean to, what does it mean for us to know we need the help and then not ask for it when we need it, or refuse it when it is offered? So AJ is going through an experience right now where this has become a subject of the forefront. I am in a chronic situation where that is constantly at my forefront. So if you've experienced that, if you've been a part of knowing what it feels like to need help, didn't want to ask, or refusing to accept it when it's offered in good faith, please feel free to join in the conversation when we're live. You can send stuff into the chat. We are live on TikTok. We are live on YouTube. We are live on LinkedIn. And you can find us at UmbrellaUS.org on YouTube and LinkedIn. But you can also email us at some of the addresses that you will find where you are listening to this podcast. So, all right, AJ, what the hell's going on?
Well, for those who have listened to the past episodes, um, I have a broken foot and had to have surgery on that. And, you know, that's not that big of a deal, right? You get your crutches and you get your scooter and, you go on about your business. Well, I was on my crutches. This is the end of last week. I was on my crutches and coming up the stairs in the front of the
Mm-hmm.
house. And, you know, this is an ableist thing that we have done. Um, we know that we wanted to get railings for the side of our steps.
Right.
And we're like, it's only a couple of steps. Really, truly. Okay, I need to stop moving my hands. Um, it's only a couple of steps, three.
Mm-hmm.
So we will do that later.
Right.
Of course, not considering because we don't have somebody in our face, right in our, immediate circle of people who are coming to the house.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have somebody who would need a ramp or other supports to get up those stairs.
Right.
So from an, ableism, really truly, because grandma, definitely would be safer. And I keep saying this, like it would be safer for grandma if we had the railings on the steps. We need to, kind of prioritize that, but it's okay if we wait because
Right.
we can hold her hand and there's a pole there and, she puts her hand on that and all of that. Well, this is where karma bites you in the ass.
Right.
Because I knew that the railings were important. I knew that it should have been done. I chose not to do it because I didn't want to spend the money.
Mm-hmm.
And y'all, it's less than $200.
Ouch.
So, I was coming up the stairs with my crutches, and the top step is the porch, which is concrete, and it has a little lip that comes over the step.
Right.
And I kept telling myself, that's going to get me. That's going to get me. So I pause and I move so that I will not catch my toe or the end of my crutch on that lip. Well,
Right.
I caught my toe on it.
Yeah.
Down I went. I couldn't use my left foot
Mm-hmm.
to do anything. So I did put the toe of my left foot down,
Right.
which I'm not supposed to do.
Yeah.
But I did. And I fell face first, not face first. I landed on my knee, on my right knee, which is the opposite knee of the foot that just had surgery.
Yeah.
So I land and my knee it's at that moment there wasn't a lot of pain. It's kind of numb and whatever.
Right.
I'm like, okay, give me a second. I have to figure out how I can get up. Getting up from that position, excruciating pain. And that day I couldn't move at all. Now it's
Right.
several days out and I am able to bend my leg comfortably as
Mm-hmm.
long as I'm not putting any weight on it.
Okay.
So standing up and sitting down causes me to bend my leg, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't have another foot to do it. So I put my knee up on my scooter and I use my left leg, but not my foot.
Uh,
Use my knee to pull myself up, and yeah, it's excruciating pain. Using the toilet is very, very, very difficult.
yeah.
Because I can't flop. I can't
Right.
flop, right?
Yeah.
Because I kind of just need to flop if I sit down.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you get into a squat when you sit down, and it hurts really badly.
Right.
And so I do have a doctor's appointment tomorrow with my orthopedist. But I need a lot of help right now.
Yeah.
A lot. I am on the couch with both legs elevated, icing that knee, every hour, and trying not to do anything because I want it to heal.
Yeah.
And it can't
Absolutely.
heal if I'm up and around on it.
Right.
So last night I had class and I had to go. It took me 10 minutes to get off the porch.
Mm. Wow.
And that is with the help of my husband and his brother.
Yeah.
Because I had to figure out how I can sit down on a surface that's all the way down by my feet and not get into that bent. I mean,
Right.
I was pole dancing, let me tell you. I have a, you know, I really was. I got up by the pole and I kind of used it so I could kind of
Right.
slide
Yeah.
down, move my leg out, and on the columns that are on each side of the the steps up on the porch.
Did
Um,
Jordan at least put a 5 in your waistband? I mean,
uh, he put a couple hundred in buying rails that are being installed
gotcha.
today.
Okay, fair enough.
Um, it's totally worth it. Um, but let me tell you, I'm apologizing all of the time. I'm crying because I'm asking for help. I'm getting butthurt when I see somebody being frustrated
Yeah.
because they have to stop doing what they're doing and do something for me.
Right.
Um, I'm angry, bitter. Just it's not nice.
Yeah.
And poor Widget is really helping a lot,
Right.
but I'm advocating for this. I'm writing this book on this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because of the internalized ableism that I have,
Yeah.
um, anything that I have struggled with other than being very short and having to ask for help for that. And I've
Mhm.
overcome that, right? I climb
Right.
on shelves and, when people tell me just ask for help, I'm like, no, I can get it. In the house, I'm going to climb a ladder. I'm going to climb up on the counters. I'm going to, whatever.
Right.
And I'm almost 50 years old. So I got to stop doing that.
Yeah.
I really do. And um, it's hard to ask for help, and I'm really struggling. And then that increases the cognitive load that I have
Hmm.
because of that. So my energy is very low. Getting stuff done is very difficult. Cognitively, writing, doing things to finish up the book and that sort of thing. It's
Yeah.
tough. It's really tough.
Absolutely. And I've known you now. What did we decide? 3 years.
Yep.
I've known you for 3 years, and yeah, asking for help was never one of your big top 10 of the things that I saw with you.
Right.
And, even when I was visiting you and, you never even asked, hey, if you're doing this, if you're free, could you do this? I mean, you go, do your thing.
Yeah.
Um, and I can't express, enough the empathy that I have, because I can only imagine the wall that you're running into.
Literally often with my
Yeah.
scooter in the house.
Yeah.
Thank goodness I had the money to
Hmm.
buy that scooter,
Right.
right? I had the money to buy it outright and then be able to send the paperwork and stuff into the insurance company, where
Hmm.
there's another privilege that I have,
Right.
you know? Um, I mean, I understand intellectually the frustrations that people go through
Hmm.
when they can't move through the world like people who have two completely functioning legs and two completely functioning, and by functioning, I mean the way that the neuronormative world has put this world together
Yeah.
is for people who don't have difference from,
Oh yeah.
yeah, I say it all the time, a white cisgender heterosexual man, you know, wealthy, has all of the supports in place.
Right.
Intellectually, I understand it. And I've been on crutches before, but I was younger.
Hmm.
That makes a difference, my age. I also wasn't fat when I was on crutches before, a little overweight. I've always been kind of a little overweight, but not fat,
Hmm.
and that makes a difference. I've had to look and say, how is that contributing to?
Yeah.
Because I, advocate that we, people don't discriminate against fat people.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know that I'm never going to be a thin people.
Right. Yeah.
It's not who I'm going to be. People do judge based
Mm-hmm.
on your appearance, and that's wrong,
Yeah.
to do that. But I still have to think about, how has my weight contributed to my injury?
Mm-hmm.
If I didn't have as much weight as I do on this short little body,
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have broken the navicular bone.
Okay. I mean,
it's not a common break unless it's like in an athlete. It's
right.
usually a stress fracture.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it gets broken in serious trauma related accidents like a car accident,
Right.
not I turned my foot wrong on the stair.
Yeah.
So, yes, I understand that contributes. Also could contribute to me not being able to get my balance quickly
Mm-hmm.
on the stair. When my toe hit the thing, I possibly could have gotten my balance. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a lot of cognitive energy being spent. And I know that
Absolutely.
there are people who do this who have lived their entire lives with disabilities
Yeah.
that cause them to move differently through the world than I move through the world.
Right.
It's humbling. It's very humbling.
Mm-hmm. I can only imagine that.
And on top of that, I feel guilty and ashamed because I advocate, because I am writing this book.
Yeah.
I should know better. I
Right.
should do better. I should be better. But I'm not. And that's a place where I've done a great job of asking for help, is with
Yeah.
the book, because I know that I don't have all of those experiences.
Mm-hmm. But there are also components that you could farm out, but you just feel personally responsible for.
Well, I mean, there's that. And then there's the, we want to be able to pay our contributors. We want to be able
Mm-hmm.
to, when it comes to these kinds of things, we want to be able to do that. And having a volunteer who is able to volunteer the amount of time.
Yeah.
And also, I think that it's important. This is our foundational product.
Right.
Everything else we do revolves around this product, and I need to be hands-on
Sure.
in order to be the executive director of this company.
Yeah.
In my
Absolutely.
opinion. In my
I
opinion.
understand. Yeah. No. I think it's a fair position to hold. And
And we need help. I mean, sometimes we need help.
yeah.
Sometimes we need help, and it's hard. You asked me if I needed you to come up here.
I did.
I was like, nah, I got it. Jordan and Nick, they're awesome. They're great. They're wonderful. Yeah. They also are the arrangement that we have in our home
Mm-hmm.
is that I delegate.
Yeah.
Because I'm the one who has the higher expectations, the higher standards
Mm-hmm.
of what clean means.
Right.
I'm the one who gets overwhelmed with clutter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the one who gets mad when there's dog hair on the floor, so.
That's absolutely why my camera is blurred.
Because it is overwhelming for some people.
Yeah.
It
I
is
can't stand
overwhelming.
to see it.
Yeah.
Because the clutter gets away from me. And it stays away from me so many times. And asking for help has been, for me, mine has been about the last 10 years now of just chronic issue after issue after issue, and feeling like the only way that anything could get done is I did it myself. Hell, this was the beginning of this journey for me. I was experiencing the symptoms of heart attack. All of the symptoms of a heart attack I was experiencing. The only thing that was not showing up was that my blood work and my EKGs were clean. And I'm going to doctor after doctor in the ER, and I went to a cardiologist, and I finally diagnosed myself. And it was my gallbladder. And after my gallbladder was resolved, then it was the panic attacks associated with all of that. Now, I did not diagnose myself there. That one came from someone else. But when you get to the point where you're having to diagnose yourself because the doctors are not finding something, you really do feel like you are having to do everything yourself. I mean, there are professionals who are supposed to do their job and see what you're going through and be able to tell you what you're experiencing. And, at that point, it's like, why am I bothering to ask for help? Why am I bothering seeking out therapists to help me with the things that I struggle with all the time? Because it's just really a great opportunity to tell the same thing over and over and over again, but there's never anything from their side coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I bother trying to get, insurance when the doctors that I need to go see aren't in network, or they're somehow a glitch, and because I didn't know all the right steps, I have to fight for this? Why do I bother with disability benefits from my employer, my previous employer, when all I have to do every year is convince them again and again and again that I'm disabled? So, it's all of these things that are coming together, and it's like, why should I ask someone to come clean my house when I know I'm just going to clean my house by myself? And I'm going to get frustrated, and I'm going to get sideways with it. Moving, one of the reasons why I have such a hard time around the idea of moving, such that it produces flashbacks and panic attacks, is the idea of doing it on my own. And so I come at it from a different position. I've asked for help in the past. I've gone after help in the past, and I've not been able to find anything that resolves into assistance. It just looks like I'm having to do it on my own anyway. And this is why I don't ask, because it's like, I ask for help, I have to do it on somebody else's time. I ask for help, and I have to inconvenience them in their lives if I need it on my time. There are always things that get in the way of it, happening. Whatever the circumstance may be that I need assistance with, it becomes a matter of, I have to do 3 times the mental work to ask for help, to hope for help, to expect help.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I am done expending all of that energy, and I still end up doing it myself. There have been times that people have said, look, I want to help you. I want to do something for you. Okay. And I've just gotten to where I'm passé about it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to help. Okay, cool. Yeah, do whatever you can. Because it's just not worth the mental and emotional energy to hope or expect to receive anything. And that's kind of where, I mean, you know, I started with a new therapist yesterday, and telling the story over and over and over again. And he stops me at one point and he's like, "You keep using the word trauma. I just want to clarify you're not using it the same way I use it." And it's like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Well, trauma is a life threat." And I'm like,
And
"Okay, trauma is a life threat. So, okay, whatever." And so now I have to change my verbiage with him because, you know, emotional, mental, systemic abuse is not trauma. And I'm like, okay, well, fuck this.
right, this is a different person
Yeah, this is a
than the
totally
one who
different.
you had to educate on what complex PTSD is.
Yeah, this is actually a PhD psychologist. And so, you know, I don't believe in the therapy system anymore, because after 10 years and I think 7 or 8 therapists, I've had one decent one in that time. The one that really got into stuff and was working with me. And because insurance, I lost access to that one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, even looking to the systems that are supposed to be help produces frustration that produces the opposite.
I mean, it's so much work.
Yeah.
And this is why when we define work, we don't define it as only paid employment. Y'all, I am sorry that my camera is going in and out. I am trying to stop using my hands because that's what's making that happen.
We might as well just tie your tongue to your lower jaw.
I'm so grateful for Widget today.
Yeah.
He knows. Before we even got started, he knew.
Yep.
He was like, oh, she's going to need me on this one.
Yeah.
Before I got on, he had both of his paws here, putting his weight on my shoulders, and he had his nose going
Yeah.
like this, reminding me, breathe. It's okay. You're safe. It's okay. Yeah. This is why we talk about the things that we do.
Yeah.
And when I started Umbrella US, I did not start it because I think I am the expert on all of this. I am an expert on some of the things that I do.
Right.
But I am not an expert when it comes to things like self-care, self-advocacy, those kinds of things. They're difficult for me. And I need this community. I was searching for this community when I created Umbrella US. Like, that's what happened. Jessica found Umbrella Alliance in Australia before we met and co-founded Umbrella US, right? Because she was looking for community, not because she thinks that she's perfect in every way. It's exactly the opposite. It's, I can't be the only one.
Yeah.
And yet, even with that, it's hard. It's really hard.
And in all honest goodness, this is not, this is not me attempting to find justification or rationalization, but the increase in the number of visible out trans and non-binary people over the last 4 years has been in direct correlation to what you're talking about, has been the result of people saying, I know I can't be the only one, then coronavirus comes in, and all of a sudden people have time to scour the internet looking for the experiences that they are having, finding community, and then finding mutual support. And now there is an outward visible sign of what that support has provided.
Yeah.
People can live out visible, and they can claim their own authenticity, whether that is being neurodiverse, or it is being trans or non-binary, or it is being bisexual, whatever the case may be. People are finally finding their communities. They're finding their others that they can be a part of. And that's one of the benefits that we don't see very often for those of us who don't like to ask for help.
Yeah.
We think we find these people on our own. So therefore, it's not somebody helping us. Hell, if somebody gives me a website to go look up, the last thing I'm going to do is go look up that website. Fuck it. I'm not going to do it. But if I find a website on my own, then I did the job myself. Yay me. This is so cool. Everybody else is like, damn, genius, about fucking time you caught up with us. But the moment we find that, and we think we are working our way into it on our own effort, what we're really doing is becoming part of a community. And we are able to, in our own time, in our own ways, ask for help and begin to receive that without even aware of what we're doing. You know, it's like whenever I started connecting with transgender and cross-dressing websites and talking with people and being able to discern what was the difference between cross-dressing and being transgender. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, well now. And I couldn't go to a therapist and ask for that because I was too ashamed of it. I was too embarrassed to talk about that stuff.
Right.
But I can talk to other people who have made that same journey. I can talk to other people who have been in that place and they're like, yeah, I remember where you were. So here's what my experience is. And in that time, it's this natural sharing. And all of a sudden it's like, hey, you know what? Here's a great place for you to go to look if you want to. This is where I buy my wigs, you know? Here's somebody that I've talked to a number of times, and they're just sharing their experience, and you can follow up with it if you want to or not. But that right there, that is the big difference. If, at least for me, if we don't think like we're asking for help, we are much more likely to receive help. The moment we start having to think about asking for help is when we begin to shut down.
Yeah. I'm going to address somebody really quickly because they have to jump out.
Okay.
But they are on LinkedIn, M. Stewart. And they said, it sure seems like we are the only one.
Yeah.
And then I just posted in there, I promise that you're not. I hope that we can have more of a conversation to make sure that we are able to get those get some supports in place. They responded, I have to jump, but thank you both. I needed to hear this today. Take care.
That's awesome. Thank you for being a part of the conversation.
100%. I just wanted to address that, hoping that maybe we got them before they left. I will also say that I am using the they, them pronoun, not because that's what they have, but I'm not sure.
Right.
So
what? You're using it in the appropriate grammatical way that the English language has been using it since William Shakespeare? Ha!
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? So yeah, I just wanted to clarify that as well.
Awesome. I love it. And this is, you know, this is why we do this, you know. We do this so that people can be a part and so they can hear the experiences that other people are having that they may share. You know, AJ is working on this book. AJ is going to, publish this book through Brainbow Media, which is the media arm of Umbrella US. And that's all well and good. Putting a book out is a great way to help people isolate, because they sit down and they read their book, and they're doing that themselves. This, though, a podcast, this is an opportunity for people to hear other people going through, experiencing similar situations or something that they can correlate to.
Yeah.
And so this is why SASG Links Live happens, is so that people can put other individuals in front of them and say, oh my God, wow, that's my story too.
Yeah. And let's be honest, when we had our first conversations about SASG Links, we said we need this place to talk. We are having these conversations with each other.
Yeah.
As friends, as professionals who help other people
Right.
do some of the things that we're talking about in here. So we said, why don't we share this with other people?
Yeah.
Because why do it in isolation? Why do it in a vacuum? Other
Right.
people surely need to hear these things.
Yeah.
And let's do it, because we are having this conversation.
Yeah.
But this conversation is bigger than us.
It is. In addition, we can do this. We can share openly because we have the natural inclination to transparency. We have the natural openness and vulnerability that it takes to have this conversation. And that is sometimes going hand in hand with that failure to ask for help, is that vulnerability, that transparency, that ability to just be completely honest about shit in our lives. It keeps us, from asking for help, because then we have to admit something that we're holding within. I mean, just like I said, I couldn't go and talk to somebody about being a cross-dressing person. Hell, the times that I talked about it were with individuals who it impacted my relationships with them in a significant way.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I was going to talk about it and I was going to impact it in a significant way, I couldn't go to somebody and look them in the face and say, well, yeah, I've been cross-dressing since I was, 7 years old. Because that was shameful to me. It was a source of pain. But yeah, let me just say that coming out, owning my identity, owning who I am, claiming all of that, and whether that is as a transgender woman or that is as a somebody who experiences neurodiversity in multiple forms, or that is as a kinky sex positive person, or pansexual and ethically non-monogamous person, there's no shame in talking about those struggles.
Yeah.
For me. And if I can do that, and I've always been open about my mental health issues, but if I can do that and someone else can hear me talk about that, then hopefully they will begin to understand, y'all, you're not alone out there.
Yeah.
There are people who have journeyed on maybe not the same path, but a parallel path.
Right.
And because AJ and I have the ability to have these conversations in front of people, to be able to talk about things that so many times we're told, hey, you can't talk about that in polite society. Fuck polite society.
Mm-hmm.
Polite society is the one that tells you bootstrap mentality. Polite society is the one that tells you, hey, stop your crying, buck up, and just get on with it. Do better. And honestly, polite society can kiss my ass.
Right. Polite society is not very polite. Let's be honest.
Exactly.
You
Polite
know,
society is nice. And
and
nice is the ability to look at you in the face and say wonderful things, but the moment your back is turned, they're the ones who are going to stab you in it.
yeah,
That's polite society.
yeah. I uh definitely want to talk about the some tips to help those who do struggle
Yes.
in asking. Um, and then I'm just grateful Lee popped in just to share. Popped in on uh I know we
YouTube.
have I know yes, I'm interrupting myself. Um I know that we usually do stuff at the end. I just feel like today it's kind of important. It's fitting to
Yeah.
pull this in now. Just because, number one, I appreciate it. Um, Lee is, talking about chronic pain
Hmm.
and how chronic pain is, and I have migraine,
Yeah.
and when I have migraine, I have no problem asking for help.
Right.
I used to. I used to have a lot of problem asking for help, but then I kind of put in some strategies, and this is where thank you, Lee, for bringing that up, because that actually helps me be able to talk about some of the things that we can do to help those, um, to help people
Yeah.
who struggle in asking for support. Um, my migraine is more disabling for me than any of my other neurodivergencies.
Hmm.
Um, because the migraine expounds those other, neurodivergencies, especially the sensory sensitivities.
Yeah.
Um, and, I got to a point where, yeah, I'm going to put sunglasses on, or I'm going to need the room to be quiet, or I'm going to need to, we can't have the TV on, or I'm turning the air conditioner way down, like those different things. I had to surround myself with people who did not shame me for chronic migraine
Yeah.
that impacted my life and theirs.
Right.
I have no problem when I have migraine looking at Jordan and saying, I am going to vomit. I am going to, I don't know. I need to sleep and do some stuff. But before I do any of that, I'm going to sit here in this really quiet space. Will you please go get me a small French fry and some Dr. Pepper at McDonald's?
Yeah.
Um, and I may only eat 2 or 3 of those French fries. I may eat the whole thing, but I know that that settles my stomach,
Right.
and nothing else is. Nothing else. Trust me, I've tried them all. Um,
Mm.
I don't know why I don't know why it works. I think, I attributed it to salt.
Right.
But I
Yeah.
tried eating like Lay's potato chips, which are super salty, and it didn't do it. So I
Right.
don't know. It's probably, you know, just I believe it and therefore it exists. Um,
The only thing that I can contribute is, damn, all of that grease. That's probably the thing that's working.
yeah, I don't know. But it does help. But whatever, I have no problem asking,
Yeah.
for that sort of thing. Um, and so part of it is doing the hard work of I honestly had to separate from some people,
Yeah.
you know. Um, at work, I was a teacher, middle school. Um, I set up my classroom in a way that made it possible for me to be there when I had migraine. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I would have been out a couple days a week, you
Right.
know. But I never ever used. the overhead lights. And if somebody turned them on, I would ask them immediately turn it off.
Right.
When I had subs, because I also worked in admin, so I would have subs come in pretty frequently because I had to go, do something in administration.
Mm-hmm.
I would very specifically put on there, please do not turn on the overhead lights.
Right.
Sometimes kids who had headaches would come into my classroom and sit in my room because it was, dark. There were a couple teachers who had dark rooms like that. Um, it's it is knowing who is a safe person
Yeah.
and then trusting those people to be able to handle your truth.
Yeah.
And there's the key, right? It's trust. And you talked about that. You don't trust, therefore it's very difficult for you to ask for help.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why you struggle with that trust.
Mm-hmm.
And the more systemically marginalized someone is, often the the harder it's going to be to break ties with some of those people
Yeah.
in their lives, because those people are the safest people for
Mm-hmm.
them, psychologically safe people. Um, in one way, even though they're not the safest people when it comes to asking for help and self-advocacy and things like that. It's very difficult and it's
Yeah.
intricate, and I think participating in conversations like this
Mm-hmm.
where we can talk openly and honestly about that, because people are going to say, I can't do that.
Right.
I can't leave my husband to you know because I need to be able to ask for help and I can't ask him for help.
Right.
Okay, but why can't you? What do you need
Yeah.
to be able to do
Absolutely.
that? And that's a big part of it, and I think that's where people miss um, an integral piece of asking for help,
Yeah.
and that is identifying what does need to be there. And I'm
Right.
not talking positive psychology here, folks.
No. No.
I'm talking from realistically, we must identify the things that we need.
Yeah.
And then we must figure out, how do we communicate this in a way that this other person will understand? And that goes back to our conversations on consent.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
sometimes that means that you're getting a coach, or you're working with a therapist, or you're working with a family member who helps mediate conversations, or you ask a friend to come in. Um, there are different things. And it's also telling organizations like Umbrella US, hey, there's this support that I need and I can't find it anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? We don't know that if you don't tell us, because
Right.
maybe that's not something that we've looked for. Or maybe we didn't realize it was a priority until this book was not a priority,
Mm-hmm.
until the community said, mandated, this is what we want.
Right.
We don't want any of this stuff that you're talking about. That's not what we want. If you
Mm-hmm.
want to do something for us as the ND community, this is what we want. And we listen and we're doing it.
Yeah. Becca just put in the chat over on TikTok, I'm always scared to ask for help. And I think, Becca, you're definitely not alone in that, because that fear is very real for many people.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it is fear of shame in having to admit, that you're quote unquote unable, or fear of the failing of expectations that you're going to ask, and those emotions are very real, and that fear is a huge barrier to asking for that help.
You kind of cut yourself off a little bit, but I want to address this.
Okay.
The fear that you're going to ask somebody who you care about who you think is going to help you and find out that they're not.
Yeah.
And then you have to deal with that.
Yeah.
That fear is legit.
Yeah. And Zinga said, I often feel like I'm a bother, so I won't ask. And yeah, Becca followed up with fear of rejection. Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. And this is why what Angela was saying was so important. What is the need? What is it that you need in that moment?
Yeah. So that you won't feel like a bother, so that you can
Right.
ask for the help and support that you need without feeling like a bother. How do you get over that?
Yeah.
And let me just say, this is part of Jessica and I are going to Minnesota next week. On if there's any Minnesota people out there, we are going there and talking about kind of rethinking this idea of work and contribution for autistic folks.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing the keynote at a summit at the Autism Society of Minnesota, a community summit, which is it's so exciting. But one of the pieces of that is Jessica is going to share. Again, Jessica is the co-founder. Jessica is going to share how the work that we have done together is helping her address her guilty feelings for the need for interdependence.
Yeah.
And we are told that independence is the most important thing.
Yep.
And that is
Bullshit.
what it means to be an American.
Yeah.
It is.
By the way, Greg is in Minneapolis. So
sweet.
and
Go to ausm.org if you want to come to that. Love to see you there.
He said the mixture of not wanting to bother people and feeling like I would be able to do it myself gets in the way. Laura says I'm bad for not asking for help. I can do it all until I can't, crash and spiral. Yeah. And that's where this independence versus interdependence comes into play.
Yes. I would not be able to do so many of the things that I do without Jeannie. I also would not be able to do so many of the things that I do without Jessica.
Yep. And I would not be here right now doing this without AJ. Because AJ has walked with me over the last 3 years to believing that I can do these things. You all have, I mean, for those of you who are TikTok followers of mine, you know that I had to walk away from doing the news because really I don't have the sense of people walking along with me in that. That's the sense that I have. Are there supporters? Yes. Are there people who are willing to advocate? Yes. But I don't have the sense that I have somebody walking with me that I'm interdependent with. I feel like I'm doing it on my own. And that's scary as fuck for me.
Right.
And that's why we have to understand how important interdependence is, because honestly, that's the only way we function as a society. We don't function as an independent people.
No.
We are 100% interdependent.
It's very, very, very rare to find a human being who truly is, they have made their own rifle, they make their own shells, they get their own food, they have a garden. No. Self-sustaining it's never ever meant to be alone. And I know it has the word self, but look, self just means that you're aware of your needs. That's it. It just means it means that you are taking care of this body and this thing. It doesn't mean that you can't do that interdependently with other human beings. We weren't meant to be alone.
No. Which is why, and No, I'm not going to get into it because that gets into to another issue I don't want to get into. But
Sure.
but just enough to say that there are subcultures within American society that believe that independence, seclusion, isolation is the American way.
Hmm.
But we have never been our best when we were secluded and isolated from others. The
Right.
frontier was not settled by individuals. It was settled by people going out together and founding a community, relying on one another, using the ability to connect with others to survive. Daniel Boone did not forge the wilderness by himself.
Right.
It's ridiculous to think that. All right.
Right.
Lewis and Clark did not map the upper tributaries of the Mississippi River by themselves.
Right.
Neil Armstrong did not land on the moon by himself.
Right.
We don't function best as a society in isolation from others. We need help from others.
Yeah. We need other people.
Yeah, we
When
do.
So when people ask me what my greatest fear is, a lot of times I think they expect me to say something like heights or death or I don't know, spiders.
Right.
My greatest fear is loneliness.
Yeah.
Just thinking about that makes me tear up
Yeah.
because I love to be alone,
Right.
but being lonely terrifies me.
And lonely can happen in the presence of a room full of people.
Absolutely.
Loneliness can happen in a committed married relationship.
Yep.
Loneliness can happen in the middle of a family
Yes.
that will say, we have a good family dynamic.
Yeah.
And you will have people who are lonely in the midst of that, but because they don't want to face the rejection or the correction or the just sheer um, amount of pushback, they will live in that loneliness.
Yeah.
And loneliness is, I'm not saying it's the only thing, but loneliness is a key component in self-harm.
Yeah, that I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
This is why loneliness terrifies me. Um, because many people, most, I would say, would rather not exist than be lonely.
Yeah.
And the
And
thought of losing myself or losing another human being to that is just, it's terrifying.
it is, you know, and I've done a lot of work around the psychology and the inner mental process and emotional process of people who are suicidal.
Hmm.
And the ultimate step of moving towards suicidal action is the feeling that I would rather do this thing I absolutely hate and abhor than to continue to feel the pain of being alone.
Yes.
That is the ultimate switch.
Yep.
That is where we go from self-harm ideation into suicidal ideation.
Yes.
It is the idea that I would rather do this thing that I am absolutely positively abhorrent toward but it is still the better option than living in this loneliness.
Yeah.
And if you are reaching that point in your life, if you are reaching a point where you are considering something you think of as utterly disgusting, only because you don't want to feel alone,
Mm-hmm.
please reach out for help.
Please do.
Please
Please
reach
do.
out for help.
I will say on our website, and I'll put it in here, we do have a page that has helplines for different situations.
Yeah.
We hear a lot about 988.
Yeah.
But there is more than just 988. Some of us have special specific things that we want. So when you go to our website, in the menu, it says crisis and support resources.
Yeah.
I will say, I have not put the Trevor Project on there yet, and I do need to add that.
Right.
We have a text line, a crisis text line, of course, 988. We have RAIN, which is the National Sexual Assault Hotline, LGBT National Help Center, and a grad crisis line specific for grad students.
Okay.
Veterans crisis line, and then there's also we've got that findahelpline.com is on there, because you can go in and search all of the different options and maybe find something that's maybe feels a little more specific to what you need. Why do we have that resource there? Because people need it. We don't want anybody feeling alone.
Yeah.
You know, M. Stewart came in and said, it sure feels like we are the only one.
Yeah.
We don't want anybody to feel that. Currently, we do not have the infrastructure to provide a support line ourselves.
Right.
I do know that 988, they do have some of the stuff about neurodivergency on their website, and they're um, becoming more and more aware of that and the needs of neurodivergent individuals as well.
And 988 was also resourced to the Trevor Project originally. I don't know if that still is a link, but they have at least received training through the Trevor Project for reference to LGBTQ plus concerns and issues, whether they are minors or adults.
Right, exactly. If you know of one that you would like us to put up and have readily available for people, please let us know.
Yeah.
It's a good resource. It's an important resource, because we don't want people to be alone. We just don't.
Yeah. And by the way, we would typically move into sort of questions or, interactive point, but because we've sort of been interactive throughout the entirety of it, I'm going to go ahead and just extend this a little bit longer. I feel like, AJ, it sounds like we're going to have to come back on our next episode, and we're going to have to talk more about those essential building blocks, those brick and mortar kind of things, so that we can actually get people some of that stuff to put in their hands to be able to move to that. But
we'll start with that interconnectedness piece, because that's the foundation. But what do you do if you need help right now and you don't have that? I would love to talk about that on Thursday. Also, I wonder if people could submit questions.
Yeah. I mean,
give us something to talk about, y'all. I can talk all day about the stuff that I think is important, but maybe I've missed some things because my experience is different from yours.
Yeah, so absolutely. If you are in an experience that you feel like we've not touched completely on or near, please toss questions at us. AJ and I will honestly and sincerely look at every question, and we will give it a full range of thought. Hell, we will probably, if we get questions, we will probably start throwing these questions and back and forth at each other in Discord, and we will be talking about it between now and when we get around to answering them. Okay. There you go. You can text those directly to AJ. For those of you who are on TikTok, you can send those to me. If you're in my Discord, you can send those to me. You all can find me on all my links, which is all my links /GenieV1229. And you can reach out to me on social media. That is not a problem.
Yep. If you call this number, it will not get answered, but you absolutely, well, there's a tiny little bitty baby chance that it might get answered. But this is the work line that generally takes voicemail and text. I don't like talking on the phone, and I will avoid it as much as possible.
Absolutely.
And I don't have an executive assistant to take phone calls for me and then take messages. So I always request that people send me text messages. It is the fastest way to reach me, and the chances that I will respond or in a timely manner are better.
Right. And, you know, AJ and I talk a lot. And so even I know that, you know, sometimes AJ is not going to respond immediately because that is just part of what they need to do in order to be able to function at times. So, you know, I'll send something over on our Discord conversation and it's like, all right, 2 days later. But at the same time,
it is true, because you did do that on Sunday and I looked at it and then I didn't respond. And then I got in there this morning and I went, oh, crap.
Yeah. Now, the thing is, I don't expect AJ to answer immediately. I don't expect AJ to answer at all because it may come up in our next conversation when we meet every Friday.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, I saw this, right? And I'm like, yeah, I know you saw it. You want to still talk
and let's
about
be
it?
honest, we will say on there, like, I really need you to respond to this.
Yeah.
It's okay if it's not, you know, we will put those things in there.
Yeah, and AJ also has a very good pattern of just saying, what do you need from me right now? And, you know, if I'm ever in a position of saying, I need to talk to you, I know that AJ will do what is possible to make that happen.
Yep.
And having someone like that in your life who, and we talked about the consent part of that, you know, we gave you all an example of our conversations of, you know, are you in a place for this? That consent aspect of our relationship is what has forged our ability to talk about anything.
Yeah.
And be able to feel like no matter what we are dealing with, that it can be discussed. And I know people who are in the midst of that loneliness do not feel that that is possible.
Right.
I want to put this out there. In 2020, and well, fuck. I'm coming up on the 4th anniversary because it was November of 2020. I had finally gotten to the point where it was like, I would rather do this thing that is completely abhorrent to me than to continue to be alone. And when I say that to mean that I had already been thinking about that. And I had just reached a point where I was like, which way do I want to do this so that my family will be taken care of? And the thing that just irritates me to no end was trying to stage it in such a way so that my dogs get the blame for it. That's the first time I've ever said that openly. In November of 2020, I was at that place where I did not have anybody who got me. And a few months later, I met this strange, bizarre, small fireball of a person who became family to me. You may not think that there is someone, and it may be that you are at that point of giving up hope. But hear me when I say it is still possible. It is still possible to find someone who will listen, who will hear you, and will join you in the help you need to get. They may not be the provider of that help, but they most definitely will be the one who walks with you while you are looking for that. And that is how we keep going.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I will say, you know, being a military spouse, being out in California, um, had me in my house getting very, very, very little interaction from other people. It had me, I mean, it made me sick, literally living there. Being a military spouse did not make me sick. The environment in California made me sick. To the point where I ended up having to have surgery on my throat and all of that stuff because, things and immune system and all of that so many ND folks experience. And Jeannie was a lifeline. Absolutely was a lifeline. And it was virtual. We had a week that we got to spend together, which was really amazing when Jeannie came out there. But, having that got me through very, 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 probably one of the most difficult periods of my life. And yeah, there is somebody. And let me tell you, as an advocate, because I work for the Wichita Area Sexual Assault Center, and as an advocate, I don't know another advocate who does this job who doesn't truly love and care about the human beings who they're speaking to.
Yeah.
So it may feel, oh, well, they're only talking to me because they have to and this and that. These people do this job because they want to.
Yeah.
And they take a lot of secondary trauma along with it.
Mm-hmm.
And they ask for support, and they have support in the areas that they're working with to deal with that.
Yeah.
So when they are there and they're listening, they truly do want to be there. They truly are listening. And that is one step that keeps you going while you continue searching for a person who you feel that way with.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And it's okay for your person to say, I don't have the capacity today. I love you very, very, very much. But today, I can't.
Yeah. Yep. And
this is why we need community.
Absolutely.
I tell my husband all the time, I can't be your only person. Please do not put the pressure on me to be your only person.
Yep.
I need to know that you have somebody to depend on in the case that I am not able to.
Yeah. It is an overwhelming burden to feel like you are someone's only contact with the outside world.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of creators in social media, Instagram, TikTok, all of these areas, YouTube. There are a lot of content creators who are there, like, they have their following and they have their people and they love to talk with them in, terms of familiarity. The thing that I am grateful for is that the people who I connect with on TikTok in particular, that's not familiarity, it's intimacy. There are some people who, you know who you are. It's not about, hey, I'm really glad that you're a follower. It's that you are a part of a community that I rely on. And sometimes it's not tangible support, but it doesn't always need to be. And so I'm grateful for the community that I have on TikTok. I am grateful for those people who have gotten to be even more intimately connected to me. AJ, Legacy, Becca, Laura, Nzinga. God, y'all, the list is expansive for people that I have been able to connect with at a more deeply and intimate level. And a ridiculous little app made that possible. That's it. Sometimes the simplest thing can open a door, but sometimes we have to have a little bit of the courage to twist the doorknob ourselves.
Yeah.
AJ, I think that's a lot today.
It is a lot.
Thank you, Nzinga. Nzinga's been giving gifts. Thank you so much.
I just want I want everybody to know that we are going to continue this conversation on Thursday. I have put up the umbrellaus.org. You can go there to see our crisis and resource lines. Also, if you have something that you would like us to address on Thursday, please go ahead and text questions to 316-247-1099. If you are out of the country, that's going to be +1 316-247-1099. And we look forward to hearing from you. Jeannie already gave you the information on how to connect with her. So yes, please. Awesome.
Absolutely.
We love you. Thank you for being here today.
Yes, you are not the only one.
Right.
So believe us, we'll be back here and chat with you next time on SASG Links. We're going to continue this conversation of what we can do to break out of the mold of not asking for help. Yes. And we hope that in the interim, you will begin to find out those needs that you have that you really do want to ask for help on. So, AJ, I love you, hon. Thank you so much. You. And we will see you all, or hear you all, on the next episode of SASG Links. Have a great one.